Yeah.
Hello there. I hope you can hear me well. And a warm welcome to this edition of the Deep Dive series, in which we present the award-winning solutions from the UX Design Awards. In these events, we invite design teams to offer deeper insights about their work, about their design approaches, and of course, about the successful outcomes that the jury awarded. My name is Akko Rudolph. I'll be hosting today's talk. I'm leading the UX Design Awards and International Design Center Berlin, the organizer of the awards. And today, I'm happy to host a presentation and talk about Beyond for Online Experiences. It's a design system that's been developed to scale ops across worldwide divisions at Zeiss, which is a big corporate company based originally in Germany. And Beyond for Online Experiences has won the Product Award in the UX Design Awards in 2025. The solution impressed the jury with several items by balancing consistency with agility in a complex enterprise ecosystem. And the jury also pointed out that the system improves the product delivery by minimizing efficiencies, both in design and development, and by helping the teams align on quality and impact. And altogether, this created the conditions for UX to grow, to adapt, and to deliver measurable value, which accelerates productivity and keeps users at the center. To hear more about the solution, we invited two key team members, and I will briefly introduce them to you. Warm welcome, first of all, to Malena Menéndez. Malena is a senior UI designer at Zeiss, and she focuses on data-driven UX, scalability, and coherent digital experiences. And with her is Michael Hausner. He is the design lead and creative director who shapes the entire design language at Zeiss across all different touchpoints. So a warm welcome to both of you. You're joining in from Munich, aren't you, Malena and Michael?
Yes, thanks, and also welcome, and thanks for having us here today.
Wonderful. I look forward, and we're looking forward to hearing more about Beyond for Online Experiences. And now, handing over the screen to you.
Okay. For listening, we are here today to give you a look behind the scenes. So, what is Beyond for Online? Why do we have here a design system at Zeiss in the first place? What challenges did we face, and how did we scale it? Yeah, but first, let's introduce ourselves once more.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Malena. I joined the Beyond Online Experience team over 2 years ago as a senior designer. And I'm excited to be here today and be able to share some insights into our work.
Yes, thanks. And my name, like you said, is Michael Hausner. I'm the design lead and creative director for the Beyond Online design system. I joined Zeiss about 7 years ago. First, I was responsible for the website relaunch and then later on helped building up this design system we will show you today. But of course, we are not alone. Behind our design system is a team of very dedicated people, developers, designers, a researcher, PO, Scrum Master, our head. So many people also outside of our core team contributing, supporting us to make this happen. Our team is really from all over the world, and we are located here in the office in Munich, and we also have an office in Budapest. So, but the first question is, what is Beyond Online? So, Beyond Online is our design system here at Zeiss for all the online experiences we have. So, we are proud that the biggest touchpoints for communication at Zeiss nowadays actively using Beyond for Online, like our websites with over 60,000 pages live and over 1 million views per month. We do have various customer portals, so gated areas for our different business units and country-specific versions of these portals. We have apps and services built for customers in B2B and B2C sector, as well as our e-commerce solutions, where a dedicated team is working at the moment to bringing this also to Beyond. What do we offer? We offer 186 tokens in our foundation libraries. We have 65 ready-to-use components in our library. We have about 250 icons, and we support 3 frameworks. Of course, we have our website content management system, and next to it, we have an Angular and a React library. And we do have the One Beyond Online portal with all the documentation and guidelines as a source of truth for the designers and the stakeholders. So the first question in a large organization like Zeiss usually always is, and for us was, why to invest in a design system that is also flexible and scalable? So therefore, you need to understand who Zeiss is and what we do. Zeiss is a company with a really long history and a broad portfolio in the products areas of B2B as well as B2C. Initially, Zeiss was founded by Carl Zeiss, innovating the manufacturing of microscopes. And until today, we are still known for the quality and innovation in this field of microscopes for researchers. But as well, we have highly innovative microscopes, robotic AI-driven devices in the medical field. We have highly precise measuring devices for various industries. But actually, Zeiss is even more. So many consumers know Zeiss for the lenses in their glasses or in the contact lenses. Or photographers and movie makers who trust the Zeiss lenses. And actually, our biggest business unit nowadays is the semiconductor industry. So, but what does this mean now? So you see, we have very different user groups using different digital ecosystems with different expectations, and all this unified under only one brand. So customers don't see our organizational structure, they see size. And they expect the same level of precision and excellence in every interaction, in every experience, and on every platform. But looking only a couple of years back, back in 2018, our online communication looked something like this here. So the question for us was how to establish a design system that works across these multiple businesses for very different target groups and across all of these different touch points. And at the same time, how can we then ensure a seamless customer journey? Yeah, for us, it was starting with the touch point with the highest visibility. So for us, it was really the relaunch of our Zeiss websites. So considering our diverse product portfolio and country-specific pages here, this was already very challenging. So to find out what we can improve, of course, we did a lot of research and workshops with our business units. And so the biggest challenge turned out for us was not to create just a modern look and feel of the website, but how to offer a system that enables around 300 editors within our business units with usually no design background to create this consistent and high quality pages. So what was most eye-opening at the time for us was that there were repeating patterns, like a download area or download module you see here as an example in many very different variations. So we found out that at the time we had a content management system where the editors were using a what you see is what you get editor. This was, of course, somehow based on the brand portal. But since this since this atomic approach, the editors always plug together what they needed at the moment, and usually always based on personal preferences. So we decided to identify here repeating patterns and created, we called them modules out of it. So the editor just needs to select the module who would fit for his need, fill it with content, and this way ensure really a consistent look across all our pages. And so, we went from a very diverse, very heterogeneous, rather outdated look to a consistent, high quality design across all our pages. And this was also important for us, not just to have some nice pages in front and the rest is less good. So for us, it was really important to have this across all our pages, the same quality of the pages. What we achieved was, that we established a brand-shaping visual language for our digital communication. We improved the consistency across the pages and business units, and we increased the efficiency. So it is now way faster to create new pages for the editors. But from here, the question was, how to scale it to our other touch points. So looking back, what we did for this website was, we needed to create foundations and components to be even able, to create a set of modules and templates I just showed you. And we thought, this is valuable for us, but we also knew this approach would not work for all our products since we needed here more flexibility because design teams, were working on really individual products and services that they could not be squeezed in this modular concept. But we also knew, we could build on this approach of offering foundations and basic components as a basis for the other touch points we have in online. And, this did work quite good for our foundation. So it was quite easy for us to define a set of colors, type styles, shadows, grids, elevations, and so on. But the question for us was, what components to offer in the first version of our design system. This was much harder. So that the product teams would be also willing to use this design system then. So what we did was a screening again to figure out what components were used across really several touch points, not just at one, and then defined this as our basic set of components, like you see here with the buttons. And this way, then we define component for component, what is usable in more than one touch point based on the requirements of this existing major online touch points. And this was pretty much the way, to a first running version of our Beyond Online design system. But, creating a design system is one thing, but how do you really bring it to life? So to answer you more, I will hand over to my colleague Malena to tell you more about this.
Thanks, Michael. So by bringing it to life, we mean how do we get people across the organization to actually work with our system, but more importantly, to like to keep working with it. So what we quickly learned is that scaling isn't just a technical challenge of us creating more components, more documentation, having more coverage. It's a maturity journey. It's about how we make the decisions, how we align with other departments, and how we can create a shared ownership. To achieve this, we focused on 3 key areas. First, choosing the right strategy for Zeiss. Then, sharing the UX culture to make sure best practices are applied across the whole organization. And third, being pragmatic about how we get results. So I'm now going to talk a little bit about each one of these. So let's start with strategy. As Michael has shown, Zeiss operates across many industries, and for us, this means that we serve a wide and diverse range of teams. So let's look at those teams. These are the ones that are currently using our component library according to Figma Analytics. They range across various industries like Meditech and Vision, or locations like Brazil and China, and they serve touchpoints like e-commerce platforms and customer portals. Each team creates different experiences, and therefore they need different components and features. And this is changing all the time. So for us, it was clear that our strategy had to account for this diversity and constant change. So we could have just pushed our guidelines and documentations to teams and ask them to directly adopt them. But this would have resulted in a system out of line with their needs and resistant to change. So such a system would actually be frustrating to use, or even worse, many people would not even want to use it at all. So instead, we based our strategy on a contribution model, which is structured. Teams are able to contribute their own proposal on designs, documentation, enhancement, fixes, and so on. Then in our team, we review these proposals, and if they add value to other teams, we refine them and integrate them. So the contribution model creates constant feedback loop that allow us to continuously improve the system. It gives teams a sense of inclusion by being open to their proposals, ownership by integrating their work into the system, and it also turns skeptics into advocates who actively promote adoption. But how do we actually put the contribution model into practice? And this is what it's bringing me to the UX culture. To enable people to contribute to the design system in a meaningful way, we had to all be sure that we were speaking the same culture, the same language. So what do we mean by UX culture? We mean a mindset of basing decisions on data. So not assumptions or intuition or opinion, but actually putting data at the heart of everything we do. So sharing this mindset would allow us to learn as much as our users as we could and tailor the Zeiss experience to their needs. But with so many different user needs to meet and so many stakeholders to get on board, this felt like a real mountain to climb. So we started small. In our team, we decided to lead by example. We intensified our own research on best practices from reliable sources, and we focused particularly on low-cost, qualitative and quantitative usability tests to design components and patterns. This would allow us to get results quickly and demonstrate the value of our data-driven approach to other teams and inspire them to also do the same. We started publishing our results in our internal portal. We started talking to them more in sprint reviews and also presenting them to other teams to be as transparent as possible. This doesn't just make our work more visible, it also encourages others to do the same. So one small act of sharing can lead to big changes across the whole organization. Last year alone, we ran twice as many usability tests as we did in 2024. We want to keep building momentum and help other teams see the value of data-driven design and inspire them to do more testing themselves. And that is how culture starts to grow. Besides testing, we also want to foster a wider culture of knowledge sharing. So we've been holding more events, such as a forum, design exchange meetings, and workshops, where we all share the insights that help us deliver better experiences for our users. My favorite example is from last year, a series of accessibility workshops with designer, developers, product owner, testers, stakeholders. And in these sessions, in one of these sessions, we invited a blind user to show how he navigates our website. This wasn't a formal test, but it gave everyone a much better understanding of what accessibility means in practice. And it also shows that even though data is at the heart of our work, some parts of it can't really be measured. So it raised a lot of awareness. So to scale UX culture at Zeiss, we start small and we try running really low-cost, quick tests that prove the value of our data-driven approach. We also lead by example, and we share our results to gain visibility and inspire others to experiment themselves. And we also exchange knowledge in regular events with other teams so we can all learn and grow together. But this also takes time, and we often don't have that time because we actually need to do the work. So now I want to talk about how we get things done. For us, it is important to be pragmatic about delivering results. So we need to define clear processes and give people the tools they need to build the best possible online experience. The first step is focusing on what actually creates more value. Since we're inviting everyone who works with us to create requests, our backlog is full of tickets with possible fixes, changes, additions that we can choose from. We deal with this by prioritizing requests using the RISE method, which is short for reach, so the number of teams that would benefit, impact, how much each team would benefit, confidence, which is how accurate we think our assessment is and whether the request is proven by data or not, and effort, so how much work it would be for us to implement the request. And also I want to mention something very important. Not every request makes the cut, which means we also had to learn to say no. When we say yes, it's for reasons like this. We noticed designers were detaching components and creating slightly modified versions to fit their specific use case, which I guess we were not very happy about because it meant that the system wasn't meeting all of their needs. However, addressing all requests also means adding complexity to our components, and we wanted to keep things simple. We also knew that there would always be unique cases and that this would require stepping out of the system. So instead, we built more flexibility into the system. We introduced what we call bare bones. This is a bare bone card. Some properties are predefined, like spacing or border radius, all with our foundational tokens. Teams can build their own variation on top of it when our predefined component is not fully meeting their needs. So let me be clear on the one thing. This is not our first approach. We will always try to evolve the shared component first. But if they become too complex or they don't bring value to further teams, we have the bare bones. They keep our system flexible enough to cover any possible use case. Bare bones, however, are a custom solution on the developer side. The designers in Figma were still detaching the components, at least until now. Maybe you've heard already about the new Figma feature called slots, which gives designers the same flexibility without detaching components. This is something new, and we're currently looking into it, and of course it comes with its own challenges. But we can talk about that in Q&A if you're interested. So coming back to our bare bones, apart from allowing flexibility, another huge benefit of this approach is that it fits into the system. So if a team creates a new component, and in some months it proves to be useful to other teams, it can become part of the system. So it's another way for people to contribute and help us scale faster and more effectively. So this is what pragmatism in scaling means for us. Learning to say no. And we focus on high-value tasks that are proven by data. Simplicity scales best when we can reduce complexity and workload while increasing flexibility at the same time. And last, this approach also fosters innovation. By giving teams flexibility, new solutions which might improve the design system can appear. So one thing I want to make clear is that none of this is set in stone, and this is what is working for us at Zeiss. But what works for you might look completely different. So we want to leave you with some universal questions that can help you find your own path to scale. And the first question is, what is your contribution model? Or do you even have one? And if you're not sure where to start, our tip is to consider what types of contributions you could allow. So they can be really small contributions, like allowing a developer to fix a bug in code or a designer to propose a new icon, to a really large contribution like adding a new component or defining a whole new pattern. The key point to define what your model is that it actually helps your system grow and it reduces the workload from the core team.
Yeah, so second question is, how do you get people on board? So at Zeiss, it is a lot about, creating awareness and inspiring others by sharing insights or engaging in dialogue, etc. So I think it's not enough to just expect people will just start using it. So the question is, are you expecting it to happen, or, are you actively enabling it? I think this is the big question. And finally, how do you keep it simple? So in my opinion, always think twice before making things more complex. So simple solutions usually scale the best. The key is finding the right balance for your team. So what is the simplest version that still delivers the highest value? Yeah, and with this, thank you everyone for listening. We hope you liked what we had to share and learned something from our experience working with Beyond for Online. And I think with this, we can go over to the Q&A section.
Thanks a lot, Malena and Michael. If you turn off screen sharing, then we can see you better. And everybody who's watching now live, it's your opportunity to bring in your questions through the comments, and we'll bring them into the conversation. So any questions you might have now or comments, please bring them in. Thanks a lot for this very nice, structured, informative walkthrough. And I think you also showed how to reduce to the maximum and simplify through your presentation, because it was very clear cut, basic, but opened so many points of entrance, I would say, to a pretty complex project. Just to frame it a little bit, can you say, so the project was a redesign and combining different digital outputs into one system. Can you say a little bit about how large was the team working on it? How long was the project going on?
You mean just for the design system, or also including the first phase of the relaunch?
That's up to you. You have to frame this because you know it in and out.
Of course, the was always moving. When I started here 2018, we were really a small team starting with the web design. So we probably were 3 people with design background in the team, plus a couple of people from the business, because they knew everything content-wise very well. But then it switched a little bit, and we really had a central design team. I think it was between 10 and 15 designers for a couple of time to really be able to create this lot amount of modules for the website. And after this, we did a restructuring again, and we had a smaller design team then, starting with the Beyond for Online design. At the moment, we are, I think, about 12 people in Beyond for Online with 3 designers plus me as the design lead, plus developers and other people in the team.
You said at the beginning there were people from management involved from the business side, and I think that that's key in just starting such a big project. What was the trigger there? What were the signals that told the organization we need to invest into this?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, for the website, it was quite clear, that we needed something new. Also, just shortly before I joined, so we are part of the Digital Partners. This is one unit here at Zeiss that drives digital innovation and digital products here. And there was just a restructuring before the responsibility of the website was with this corporate IT. And it just moved over to our department. So we did not need to have a buy-in there for the website relaunch, which was, I think, also clear when you looked at the website at the time. But where we did need a buy-in was for the Beyond Online, then to say, this should not just be
Right, how to
something
scale this
on the
beyond just
website,
an
but we want
website
something that
application.
is exactly that is valuable for all of our online communication portals. So for internal, external communication, for marketing communication, because here we already had a lot of products running already, and here it's much harder to convince people now to invest extra money to switch an existing product to a new system. But I
And
think
how did you get this buy-in?
yeah, no, I just wanted to say, I think there are very good reasons for this. Over a long time, it's much more efficient. You can save cost, and this is always what works very good for the management. But, there are much more benefits than this. There is a consistent user journey across several touch points. This was also one of the very important points where we could convince the management. That because we did a screening and had a big research how disconnected somehow the different touch points were, because like I also showed in the presentation, we have very many different business units, and within the business units, people driving projects, and of course, by nature, they are not really connected by themselves if there is not a central thing that connects them. Yeah? And this harmonization was also a very important point to convince it.
So at this stage, it was rather soft issues, soft, let's say, arguments about harmonization, not hard numbers yet in terms of this will have an increase of X efficiency or whatever.
Yeah,
Okay.
of course we try to calculate it, but it's always hard to calculate, the exact
Right.
percentage. There are numbers, and we try to calculate it. Yeah, and of course this was also important, but it was not just about the cost saving.
I think it's very nice that you laid out your RISE method, which is about flexibility and keeping a balance between flexibility and consistency. But before I jump to this, I have this kind of like a feeling, and it's maybe a provocative question about whether it's a contradiction. What you think about this, because you work, I mean, so many different business units with very different end customers, whether they're business or mostly business. I mean, an optician is also a business customer. And very different depths, I think, also of products and diversity of products. So is this a contradiction to have like a kind of one size fits all design system if you need so much flexibility? And what were the biggest challenges when you introduced it? Because people were used in doing things their own way and having maybe developed something that worked well within their field, but so they were used to it and they were happy about it.
Yeah, yeah. So what I can say, one benefit we have at Zeiss is that we are one brand. So this makes it easier than a multi-brand company. But of course, like we showed you also, we have a lot of different requirements because of this, different target groups and so ever, even between B2B and B2C customers, just this is very different. And this is also something we are working on. So we want to have this one central design system, but we are allowing flexibility where it's needed and where it makes sense. So for example, for the website, for our Vision website, where we mainly have end consumers, we also have a little bit different modules and templates now that they are more, consumer-like. They have bigger typography, bigger images, to also fulfill the needs to talk in the right way to the target group where it's needed.
Do you also offer support not just in visual design, but actually in a deeper way, maybe in UX flows in different business areas? Because there might be different needs according to the field people work in.
Yeah. So, I mean, we work together with the teams, there's a very close collaboration. So we in the Beyond Online focus more really on providing the design system. In my role as a design lead, I have contact with the other teams, and there are other teams, working also. They're also within our unit, within the digital partners, and they work very close together with the business units. And here they're also starting to establish UX patterns and things like this, and they contributed back to us then, that we have this documented where it makes sense.
Yes.
So it's mostly contribution model, I would say here.
So then we look into, I don't know, the design patterns that there are across the company, and we try to define one and sort of refine it to then document it and share it with everybody else who might need that as well. So if we're talking about, I don't know, filters, we look into all the teams that have been working with filter patterns. We check the layout that there could be and how this can be arranged in mobile, desktop, tablet, and we try to find the common pattern that is unifying all of them. We check whether this is a best practice doing research. We also try to test whether if it's actually working with users and it's easy to find the things. And with those discoveries, we refine and then we document and we inform and share the insights that we had with all of them so that they can also adjust their designs into what we have discovered.
Do you have a specific evaluation system, or is it more like on a human back and forth discussion, workshops, meetings that you mentioned?
So I'm not sure I'm understanding the question correctly, but so let's say somebody's requesting an update on filters, and then this request comes to us. We look into it, and since it's something that it's being highly used across different teams, we say, okay, let's collect everything, and then that's about communication, right? Like we are in touch with them, we talk about them. We have forums every sprint where they can also reach out for questions. We also go into Figma and say look for all the we sort of sneak into the projects to see where this might be working, and we bring everything there, and then we start from there. When we find something, we reach out to them. We ask them questions about why have you done this? Where was this? Have you tested this? Because sometimes they also run tests themselves on that, and that insights we look into when we need to define more in detail.
Okay, so it's a mix of both research, discovery, back and forth, and maybe if you roll out a new proposal, then you would track the progress and uptake and measure this.
Yes, and we also check with them, right? So whatever change we do, we need to double check with them whether this would also make sense for them, because we want to have like one solid system in general. So It takes time. We're not the fastest at at making those decisions because we need to check with a lot of people. So the process is somehow become slower when we are talking in a design system than in a product team.
Yeah, and also it's an ongoing project, and it's
Yes.
very user driven the way you describe it, and that's I think what it's supposed to be and should be, in order to remain flexible and adaptable.
Yeah.
Maybe connected to this, and a question by Marco Riestau from Hamburg in Germany. Which metrics do you use to measure the success and progress? So I have to interpret success and process here, whether it's well, let's say connected to the design system and take up of.
Yeah. I mean, we have different success metrics. For example, we try to measure how much is the adoption rate. How many teams use our components is one measurement for how successful are we as a design system.
We also run surveys constantly with the teams and the agencies who are using our design system to see if they find the documentation easy to read, if it's useful what they're doing, if they're finding all the components and all the information they need, how easy is it to use it. And we collect all this information and we discuss it within the team. We define action items on things that we can actually improve and we need to work on. And then we compare with the survey we ran the year before and we see where are we standing now, like have we improved, is it better now? So we also measure it like that.
Yeah. And I think actually the survey is a really successful tool because, of course, I'm constantly in exchange with many people using Beyond as a basis for their products. But a survey often brings out new interesting topics. If someone is really not happy with something, they are more likely to write in a survey than in a one-on-one talk with you. Usually, I mean, there are exceptions, but I think the survey is really a successful tool, of course, it needs to be constantly, not just a one-time survey, so that you also can see over time how the success is. But here you can find out a lot, I think.
Yes.
Right. So it's both quantitative in terms of research, data, and qualitative in terms of reach out and Malena, you were saying?
No, yes, I was just thinking that, like we also look into Figma analytics. We check whether the components have been detached or not, how many teams have been using a certain component, because that will help us see the prioritization that it has with the impact. And Michael also mentioned like the Beyond for Online portal, which is our source of truth. So we also look into analytics in that documentation, like how many people are visiting the website, which are the most visited pages, what are they looking for the most. So yes, as you said, it's we try to cover as many angles as possible to
That's extremely complex because you're working also on not just in design and discovery, development, moderation, also data analytics. So I suggest, I suppose you have people on your team that cover all these fields, and that will be key. There is a question, a specific question. I would love to bring in two questions from the audience that are very specific, but I think it's great if people want to know something in detail. Blessing Cliff from Nigeria asks, how do you deal with accessibility? You mentioned, Malena, you were able to do user testing with Heart of Seeing People. Cliff said, how were you able to get users with disabilities for testing? Maybe that's something very specific. And which insights were you able to get from the tests? Maybe different to other tests.
Like to start with, like accessibility is not just the design system responsibility, right? So when we run, when we share this knowledge sharing, we encourage those workshops, we have an accessibility expert at the company who really did a great job creating these workshops and inviting the correct people to raise awareness and to make the product teams understand what their role is, what our role in the design system is, for content managers to understand what their part is. So because it's a work that we all need to
Which is also about text and wording, UX writing.
Yes. And ensuring, like, we have a design system, but we're not the ones using it. So the teams that use it need to ensure that the contrast, when they're placing a component, it needs to be good enough for legibility and so on. So that's what the part they cover. And we tried to make this clear because for us, we work on accessibility for the design system, and we ensure that the components that we have and that the colors that we have will allow enough contrast and keyboard navigation, and that they cover all those areas. So we in the design system covered that part, but it takes more key players to ensure that then the website, when it's live, it's accessible. It's not only on our side. And which other questions did he have?
So do you have a framework to then also support teams on further issues in enhancing usability or accessibility? Beyond the visual layer, I mean.
I mean, we do not have a framework. We do have accessibility teams, really driving it.
Yeah.
It really became a hot topic, since 1 year about, and we are still trying to make at least our design system completely accessible, that it can be accessible, that it can be an accessible product. But like Malena, like you said, there are different players, one is the dev side, that it has also to be accessible from there, from the design system side, and then of course there are the content editors. It's not just that they choose a specific color; they also need to add alt text also to the images. So we cannot do this in our design system.
Yeah.
But our goal is at least that they can use our design system and create an accessible product out of it.
Yes.
This is our goals.
Yes, and we're not testing the accessibility directly with people who are blind. Though you can, with the tool we use, you can set up which kinds of users can do the test. So if we were to want to say, hey, this should be tested by these kinds of users, you can set up that app when we are creating the tests and so on. You can define the country, the age, the education. So there are lots of filters that you can apply to say who you'd like to test the prototype with, or whatever test you want to run.
And what changes in the system then? For instance, if you set it to people of an older demographic, do you automatically increase font sizes, contrast, or
No,
how should
not
I understand
necessarily.
this?
So when we create a component, we ensure that it covers the law requirements of contrast, font size, that it's that people can access it through the keyboard, and that they can navigate in alternative ways, not just with the mouse. The focus ring should be there, and we think about it so that it's consistent across all the components as well, so that we share the same pattern in that term.
Okay. And a second part of the question you were asking from Cliff was if you did, or I think you mentioned you did a test with a blind person or hard of seeing person, or other teams did this. So which insights were you able to get from these tests?
Well, that we had to improve something.
Yes,
Obviously, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, I think this was a really nice initiative from our colleague Daniel. So he's our accessibility expert here in the team. And the goal also was, to be a little bit eye-opening. So how much do we really have to do? Because, many people focus now on this WCAG, AA standards, to make it somehow accessible. And then people think, now we are accessible. but there are so many people, with various disabilities, and do we really have this broad look, to include as many people as possible to make them be able to consume and read our websites? And yeah, we did have some issues there, because blind people usually completely rely on RSS readers, and there were some issues in the navigation. We did notice before, this was more a session, for the people in the audience. It was a lot of Zeiss employees to open their eyes and make them realize, it's more than just fulfilling the WCAG and OA standards.
Right.
Yeah.
So
And I mean,
basically to see what we don't focus on because we see.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And if you look in YouTube, there are lots of, like, you can also find blind users navigating through websites. So you don't really need to invite one. You can just do it yourself. And you can really see how frustrating it can be when it's like when they are not reaching the place they want because the website is not accessible. And the changes that you need to do as a designer are so little that will improve the experience this user is having, that it's just silly not to take that into account when you're a designer, because one could think, but
Yeah.
it takes so much time to make it accessible. It's just a learning curve that once you start considering that, it's just part of your process. You just know you need to do that. So,
It's a baseline. Yeah.
yes.
A great tip to look resources up and learn yourself, but then of course access some courses,
Yeah.
understand, what to improve. As you say, sometimes it's very little. It just has to be a baseline in your work and an awareness. There was a very specific question. I'd like to push this also to you, Malena, because you mentioned this part in your presentation about the slots in Figma. It's something I'm not familiar with, especially. Stefan Koic from Zurich is especially curious about how you use the slots, what is the strategy behind them, and how they support scalability in the product.
Okay, so this is very new in Figma. Like, it's one of the latest features they launched. We are introducing them little by little. So for example, in a model component, we have a predefined model which has, I don't know, a headline, a button, an image. And what we can do is we can place that content inside a slot. And when a designer places their component in their design, they can just drop any content into the model. So they no longer need to detach it to be able to put the content they want inside. Let's say they want to add like form elements because they need to place a form inside the model. They no longer need to detach it to put inside all those elements. They can just drop them inside and they will still be linked to our system. We have
So it's
not.
more like a container.
Yes, exactly. That it allows that flexibility. What I wanted to mention about the challenges is that they are open. They can place anything. So imagine having in an accordion a slot for the content that they want to place inside an open accordion. How can we control what they place inside, that they don't place an accordion inside an accordion inside an accordion? So that would not be our recommendation, but the slot allows designers to place any content inside. So we need to find the balance between how much flexibility or how we document the correct use of a component and what we allow and we don't allow, to ensure that we are still consistent and we are still having the same brand behind brand and consistency across all the use cases. So yes, we are introducing this because it is very useful for us. But we also need, like, we need to discuss.
Also to find new ideas and
Yes.
get more feedback about flexibility. But as I understand, it's not really actually something that helps your scalability. It rather raises more issues that you have to be aware about and take care
Yeah.
about in order to
Yeah.
fence too much flexibility in, right?
Yes, yes. So that's the line. But it does help scalability because we ensure that they still stay connected with our system. So then if one day we decide to change the border radius of our tokens, the model will still have that link and the token in them, it will also change. So in that sense, it's really good. Also for repetitive items, so for groups. So if we want to put a group of checkboxes, it's really easy to just drag and drop that and create that group of elements. So yeah, we're looking into it. It's really new, and we also need to do things. So it's a topic that we're discussing whenever we have time, and we will try to incorporate it and make it balanced with the documentation.
Okay, Stefan, I hope this answered some questions. Feel free to reach out to Malena on LinkedIn. Maybe you can have a follow-up discussion about this. And I guess there will be many resources available online also on this. There was also a third question from Mark Klein in Oxford, and it's something more of an outlook. So I don't know how much you can talk about this, but it's obviously everybody is working on AI tools, and there is also the challenge about where AI is really makes sense to be applied and embedded, also because it has a large carbon footprint, but also not everything has to be solved by AI. So Marx nevertheless asks whether you're thinking about planning on integrating AI tools in your workflow, or let's say the design system, and maybe if yes, where not, would be my question.
Should I answer?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah. What I can say, of course, we're thinking about it. I think every company is thinking about how they can integrate AI into workflow. We in Germany, we are quite restricted. So our Workers' Council is very careful at the moment what we are allowing, and they're challenging it a lot. So we do use first AI tools, but for example, we are not allowed to use the OpenAI ChatGPT. We have a local version of ChatGPT. It's called Zeiss GPT. So it usually takes a little bit longer for us to get hand on the newest tools. I think they're quite promising, but like everything, usually it has up and downsides. So I think we should also see where it will bring us. But to be honest, I think nobody really knows at the moment where the future is going in short term. But of course, we're also testing, we testing tools, but not so much in real life production at the moment.
Yeah. Maybe with our documentation, it helps speed up the content, but of course we need to review it. It makes lots of mistakes or creates assumptions that out of nowhere. So the content actually comes from us. It's just let's put it in the same tonality because it's several designers documenting for the system. So we try to have a prompt which allows the same tone of voice, the way we document things. So in that sense, we are currently using it, but in terms of creativity, I hope it won't take the fun out of our jobs and it just stays on the part of repetitive things.
Yeah.
So
I think it's really hard to say because it evolves so fast. At the moment, I would also say, when you see what it does, usually AI, and that's also the whole concept of AI, it goes always into average, into mediocrity. And this is exactly the opposite of what we as designers want to do. We will always want to differentiate ourselves, from from mediocrity.
Although I guess based on the large amount of data you have and working on an in-house closed-off system, you could feed it a lot of the data you might have and, for instance, streamline research, as you said, create personas from different business units, different countries in order to generate insights quicker, but based on real facts. So that's
I think
probably a win, right?
I think in things like this, it can be very helpful in the future, to, like you say, to take a huge amount of data and synthesize it in a very short time. I think there it can be really helpful. Just on a design side, I'm not so sure, where it will bring us. But of course, there will be a lot of, topics where it can support us. I hope the future is, that it's a good assistant for professionals in the future. This is my hope, somewhere where it goes.
Right. It'll probably help a lot in coding and in production as well.
Repetitive tasks.
Yeah.
I'm sure you would have gotten a different reply from developers. They
Both on a positive and negative
I don't
account.
know, but yeah, they are actually looking way more into it and to also how to help between design and developer join this when we fit it with the system. But it's as Michael said, it's early stages at the moment for us.
Yep. So just to wrap up, we're always curious to know, you've won the UX Design Award. It's a recognition by an expert jury right in your field for your core work. What was the decision to take part in the competition, and what did it meant when you actually were awarded? Did it help your work internally, externally? Just curious to know.
Well, I'm sure like we shared it with everybody, and it helped us also create more of this UX culture that we are mentioning. So it raises awareness as well. It communicates the way we are working, and yes, yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, I mean, we put so much effort,
Yeah.
the whole team put so much effort in the system. So I think, it was really a nice a preparation. So, for all of this hard work that people put in this product. And since then, only within Zeiss, we got much more, awareness and I think it was good for us to show that this is a valuable product, and it helped showing this. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. It's great to hear, because that's actually like what we hope that we do with our work, that we actually not just, promote good work, but it helps you to gain recognition, visibility for the value that UX brings to organizations. So good to hear about this. Malena and Michael, it was wonderful speaking to you. Thanks a lot for sharing insights with all of us, everybody who's watching as well. Congrats again on winning the UX Design Award. And thank you very much. Wishing you a pleasant evening, and hope to see you again.
Yeah. Thank you for the invitation.
Yes, thanks for having us. Thank you very much. Have a nice evening.
So, and everybody else, if you're interested and keen to know who won the next round of UX Design Awards, you can actually discover on the 4th of March when we stream the winner announcement at 5 p.m. CET. You can still register on LinkedIn and hopefully join in and discover new exciting work. Also, there is some design systems in the race, so let's see where it leads us to. To stay tuned on all of our events, you can follow us on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and of course, subscribe to our newsletter. It would be great to see you at one of the next events again. So wherever you are, thanks a lot for watching across the world. We heard from Nigeria, from Europe. Have a wonderful morning, day, or evening, and see you soon again. Bye-bye.